that was Devin McCourty yesterday. We played that late in the show yesterday. Devin McCourty with some positive comments about Mac Jones. And then what apparently has to happen immediately is the character assassination needs to begin. And so to revisit Scheim's lead this morning at around 6:30, it was a report that coaches were instructed not to be too hard on Mac Jones to protect him from being too critical of himself. And I just, could somebody put a name on these insider reports that are used to assassinate the character of Mac Jones? Or are we just going to have a season full of everybody talking about how whiny he is and about how douche-like he is?
Well, my question for you, Greg, is if everybody in this locker room loves him so much, why are there reports like this?
Because they're not coming from the locker room.
Where are they coming from, then?
Curtis told you. Curtis thinks they're coming
They're just
from
make-believe?
Curtis thinks they're coming from Bill Belichick.
Oh, but that's part of the locker room.
Yeah.
That's part of the organization. That's my point.
That's the worst.
Like, if they're not coming from within the organization.
Can we just go back to what we actually have factually in front of us? Do you think Devin McCourty really thinks the sky is the limit on Mac Jones?
No. I think that
he's lying?
all that told me, because I love Devin McCourty and I don't think he lies very often, is that he's going to come back next season. I thought he was going to retire, but there is a chance he comes back into this locker room. He doesn't want to walk in day one and see Mac, and Mac's like, I listened to you on Good Morning Football. That wasn't great. He is saving himself. And Devin McCourty is the leader in that locker room. So he can really, he needs to make sure that he is making sure everybody's on the same page when it comes to this. All we've talked about is the lack of leadership in that locker room. When you've got a guy like Devin McCourty out there, he's trying to mend the fence between Bill and Mac.
And that's not his personality, though. He's not like a Shady McCoy, right? A Shady McCoy might come out and say so. Devin is not that. That's not his MO. So he ain't going to do that.
But here's the difference. The support of Mac has names and faces behind it. It has the owner, and it has, as you guys just put it, the leader of the locker room. Mm-hmm. And who looks better if Mac was really a baby and it wasn't the coach's fault? He just was so hard to coach. Who does that reflect better on?
You really think Matt Patricia would leak a story
No,
without Belichick?
No, who hired Patricia Scheim?
Belichick.
Okay, so that's my point.
Yes, okay, great. So your point is that the owner loves him and some of the guys in the locker room love him.
My
but
point
if the head coach
doesn't,
that's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
The guy who has won us, 6 Super Bowl titles?
Yeah, I'm sure he won those.
He definitely won us the first 3.
Okay, so let's look at the situation here very simply. I trust when I hear someone say something with their actual name behind it.
Belichick has outright said Mac's a quarterback of the NFL, has not committed to him on this team.
I would think that this particular report, if it comes from somebody legit, quote unquote, is more likely from Matt Patricia, who's trying to get himself a job somewhere else and wants to put everything that happened last season on Mac Jones.
You really think he'd go against Belichick and just say something like that so recklessly?
It's not going against Belichick.
How is it not going against the coach of the team?
Because Matt Patricia's able to get it out there into the ether that Mac Jones is a baby and he couldn't coach him as hard as he wanted to coach him.
And if Belichick didn't want that, would he ever allow that?
No, he wouldn't.
No, and Matt Patricia's not going to do that to the guy who literally grabbed him from the purgatory of football and brought him back and he said, don't worry, you always have a spot by my side.
And Courtney, didn't you do a lead about a month or two ago when Mac posted the poem from Kipling about if?
Yeah.
And you said, wow, it's amazing the amount of Patriots players that are supporting him.
Yeah.
So then what's happened? So
but
all these players
publicly
mean
support
nothing.
him. The players mean nothing.
Oh, those mean nothing.
It's when Bill Belichick isn't support, when the head coach of your football team is not supporting you, it means absolutely nothing when the players support. Like if I support Courtney, that means nothing if the bosses are not in support of her.
The two bosses that you're talking about are both disgruntled employees. Matt Patricia and Joe Judge.
No, the boss we're talking about is Bill Belichick.
Okay, and if we're going to trust what Bill Belichick says, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, the summer that Mac Jones was drafted, when Cam Newton was the returning starter, did we hear a single negative thing about Cam Newton from the mouth of Bill Belichick that entire summer?
No.
And then what happened? Oh, he cut him.
Right.
So You're saying the coach's voice is the most important thing, yet literally
things change in 2 years, Curtis.
Yet literally a year ago, the head coach was publicly supportive of a guy he had Patricia cut before the start of the season.
And literally 2 months ago, he wouldn't commit to the guy as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, things change.
Well, by the way, prior to that, at the beginning of the season, he was gushing about Mac Jones.
Yes, and more recently, he won't commit to him. He wouldn't commit to him in the middle of the season or at the end of the season.
The only thing that changed but from the period when Mac Jones came back to training camp, and Bill Belichick was like, wow, great improvement. Guy worked his ass off. The only thing that changed was that Bill decided to bring in 2 imbeciles to run the offense.
Didn't you just prove the point of the report, though? The beginning of this season, Bill was raving about Mac Jones.
He was.
He has made all of these leaps and bounds to be better. After last season, when we talked about the breathing exercises, the fact that when he was at Alabama, they had issues when he was showing his frustration. So what you just said, Bill needed to coach him easier. He had to glowingly talk about him and the strides he made.
I just find it very interesting that a guy like Devin McCourty, who I think is pretty honest, I think he's pretty honest on this show. He's not afraid to say things. He's not afraid to go against what the common narrative of the New England Patriots is essentially talking on and on in a positive way about Mac Jones being the future, and everybody discounts it.
So then, what do you
noted
think it is?
Mac haters, you and Wiggy
No.
what else do you expect Devin McCourty to say?
Sean brought up a good point. Sean brought up a good point. So then, what are all these reports? The Karen Guregian story. Are all these
reports
are they all make believe?
The Karen reports weren't.
No.
That wasn't about Mac Jones.
No. That was
about how dysfunctional the offense was.
But listen,
was what that was about.
Listen, there was a point in her report where she said that he got into a screaming match, and so to answer this question honestly,
I'm answering.
No. So where are these things coming from?
There have been 2 prominent reports by unnamed people.
Yep.
Painting Mac Jones out to be a whiny baby. One was proven to be incorrect, and the guy who authored it doesn't go on the radio anymore unless it's 2 a.m. on some national program.
Hold on, we don't even need a report.
And I was the one who exposed it. Thank you.
Yes, you were, Curtis.
So
that's why you won the Marconi.
I really appreciate that. And I just want to say to everybody, I think it's so great that it only took 3 years since Brady left for the Patriots to become the Jets.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Infighting, no direction, owner disagrees with the coach. It's almost like there was one guy that glued everything together. I'll never find out who it was.
So, Greg, I just have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you no longer have any faith in Bill Belichick whatsoever?
No, I have tons of faith in him. I have questions about his decision-making last season heading into it.
Okay, then I'm confused because you guys are telling me that these stories are clearly coming from Bill Belichick.
Curtis suggested
attacks on Mac Jones, and yet you don't trust Bill Belichick.
Curtis suggested that there is some kind of a turf war going on between Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. I think that's probable. I think it's possible. I think it's more likely, in my opinion, that this particular report comes from a disgruntled Matt Patricia or Joe Judge.
And do you really believe
who want to put what happened last season on one person, and that person being Mac Jones?
And do you really believe Matt Patricia would go against the word of Bill Belichick, or Joe Judge, who's, by the way, still employed by this team, go against Bill Belichick in that manner?
Those guys are all whispering things.
You're not answering the question.
Go against what?
Go against Bill Belichick because
Patricia's
Belichick would not allow that.
Patricia's no longer with the organization.
I understand. Patricia's not. I didn't say he was.
I don't think Patricia's going to have a seat at the table with the Patriots ever again. So yes, if it would benefit Patricia, he would say whatever he wants.
And would it benefit him to have Mac Jones be painted as the problem here last year, Curtis, and not Matt Patricia himself?
It sure would.
You guys are so naive if you believe that Matt Patricia would say anything, if not allowed by Bill Belichick. Even if he's looking for another job, if he does that and Belichick doesn't want him to get a job in the NFL, do you want to know something? Matt Patricia's not going to have another job in the NFL.
Do you think Matt Patricia, if he doesn't get a job with another team, do you think he's back here?
Yes.
In some role?
No.
Yes.
Right. He is Bill's right-hand guy. Of course, Bill brought him back and made him the offensive play caller and the guy. So, of course, he's Bill's right-hand man.
Yeah.
You are naive, and hey, you know what? Naivete.
The role he's perfect for is bulky. Okay? I mean, that's the role. In some role, that's the only role that I would want him back here in. All right. Anyway.
I do love a good bulky role.
Interesting lead this morning from Shime.